Richard Grunow is the reason I became a music educator. And I swore I would not get emotional. Dang it, you couldn't be last. When I came to Eastman as an undergraduate, it was to be a trumpet performance major. And my dream was to be a studio musician and live that life. And I wasn't here all that long before I started realizing, you know what, this isn't making me happy. This doesn't feel right for me. And I went home, and at the end of my sophomore year, and I announced to my parents, you know what, I think I need to go do something else, go pursue something different. This isn't right for me. And my sweet mom begged me, when you were little and you wanted to be a music teacher, why don't you go and take a music education class? Well, and I'm like, why would I do that? That sounds awful. I don't want to be a music teacher, don't make me. But she convinced me, and so I went back the next fall. And I signed up for this class with this professor I didn't know at all, beginning instrumental methods. And it was up in the theater in those rooms there, in those tiny little spaces. But I went in and I met this man, and he seemed nice enough, and he was easy on the eyes. I might be able to sit through this class. I took my proper place in the back row. Being a brass player and all, that's what we do. And from the first moments that this man started to talk, I was intrigued. I was totally intrigued. He started talking about why are we using metronomes to try to impose steady rhythm on students instead of teaching them how to move and feel it? And why are we using tuners to try to teach kids how to play in tune instead of teaching them how to sing in tune and internalize that? And it wasn't more than a few minutes that my arms were uncrossing. And I'm like, well, this is kind of cool. This is interesting. And he went on, and with everything he said, I got more intrigued. Like, you mean to tell me I could teach music in a way that's musical, that's exciting, and I could feel the wheels turning in my head. Like, wow, when I was little, I got excited about playing because I was learning to improvise, and I was playing in a family band. We had the Dixieland band, and that's how I learned. And I thought, whoa, I could do some really fun stuff with kids, if I could teach this way. So it wasn't long before I announced to him, I want to switch to music education. And he's like, not so fast. You need to meet with me first. All right, whatever, So we met, and I went through the gauntlet of singing and moving and reading and all of that, and must have done okay because he said, you may join the department. And it just changed everything for me. He was literally the first professor at Eastman who made me feel special. It's a theme, right? And, seemed to really value what I brought to the table. And that was fun. That's exciting. That's certainly motivating, no question about it. So, with his help, I found a way to get through an entire education degree in 2 years. I was taking 10 instruments at a time. It was insane, but I was happier, my grades went up, and my trumpet playing improved. It's fascinating to me. I never worked harder in my life, but I was really happy. I could sense that I could do this. This would be cool. So as soon as I graduated, I landed a job down in the Catskill Mountains in the middle of nowhere and got a gig doing grades 4 through 12. Well, at the time, we're talking, I met Richard Grunow in 1983, which is understandable since, I got into Eastman when I was 8. But at that time, jump right in wasn't a method. It was pencil sketches of patterns, some tonal patterns, some rhythm patterns, and a cassette tape. You youngsters know what that is? That had those patterns. So, but I took those tools and I went to my first beginning classes and I poured my heart into it, and I saw unbelievable things happen with these kids. And after about 2 months, I had run out. I didn't have anything, and I'm like, now what do I do? I don't know what to do. So I applied to Eastman to go back to get my master's because I needed more. I needed to learn more. I needed to do this course again. I needed to find out, now that I had tried some, how could I learn? How could I get better? So I came back. I got my master's degree, and halfway through it, I got offered a position in Greece. And this was the job I wanted. This was teaching beginners, because I needed to find out what happens when you teach Jump Right In right from the beginning. I didn't want to have to try to teach some of these things to students who had already learned by eye, more or less. I wanted to find out what could happen, what was the potential here. So I was psyched. I grabbed that job and jumped right into it. And from the beginning, you know, there are lots of challenges when you do this. If all of you know who have done this, it's not so easy. And in the beginning too, there was no one to go to except the king himself. So he was gracious enough to come out many times and help me and observe me. And one instance still makes me giggle. He came out, I had a band rehearsal going on, and he noticed that there were some students whose posture was a little questionable. So he said, hey, I can help you with this. Okay, come on. So he gets up and he has the whole band stand up. All right, now, kids, stand up. You remember this, don't you? And he says, okay. All right, now, if you've taken this course, you know what this is all about, right? He says, okay, all right, everybody, I want you to stand. I want you to touch the backs of your legs to the front of the chair. All right, stand up tall, okay. Now, I want you all to sit without bending at the knees. And I watched my whole band going. 60 Frankensteins trying to sit down. Oh my gosh. He turns and goes, I might need to try that again. If you haven't seen it, you're supposed to say, only bending at the knees. That was so he also would encourage me with every step. You know, like he would come in, you know, you need to do more bass lines. You need to do more bass. Okay, all right. I'll do some bass lines. And I would do bass lines, and my gosh, the kids could do it. All right, that's cool. Then he'd come in the next time and go, you need to change out of B flat much sooner. Much more, oh man, I don't know if they can do that. It wasn't them, of course, it was me. All right, I'll trust you. And I would do it, and they were right there. They could do it. And then the next was, all right, now you need to teach more harmony. Oh man, all right, I can do that. And so he would just nudge me ever so gently and nicely into doing the right things, into pushing myself and to pushing my students. You know, and then it became improvisation. Like, how can I have time for all this? I started realizing very quickly that if I took the time to do all of these things he was telling me needed to happen, that by the end of 5th grade, I would say halfway through 5th grade, these kids were on autopilot. I worked my fanny off in 4th grade and halfway through 5th, and by the halfway through 5th grade, they could do it. And I could literally hand my ensemble a chart 2 weeks before a performance, and they could nail it. And I'm not talking about a simple little chart. Some of these tunes were pretty darn complex. And I'm like, wow, this is cool. This pays off. He also sent me a ton of student teachers. Maybe part of the reason I'm here. You can relate to this, I'm sure. We figured it had to be close to 50 student teachers. But I had a selfish reason for it. I was getting these amazing students from Eastman to come out, give me what they were learning in their classes, and they'd get observed. and I could learn more. And I grew so much by having these student teachers. You understand what I'm talking about. It makes you a better teacher when you work with a student teacher. You have to be on your game. They're counting on you to be on your game. It's an amazing responsibility, and I benefited from it tremendously. As a doc student, I decided to come back and get a PhD. What was I thinking? But again, nothing but support. He ended up serving on my dissertation committee along with Chris, and the dream team of dissertation committees. And he also helped me incredibly with my writing, which I really appreciated. So through it all, I mean, he's been incredibly supportive, funny. Whenever I've had anything stressful, which I'm surprised I didn't hear it today, but you know, right before anything highly stressful, he comes up and was like, "Don't screw up."
Oh, don't embarrass me.
It would be just the right thing, just something to make me laugh and take the edge off. He's always incredibly passionate and caring. And because of Jump Right In, I got to watch beginning instrumental students perform incredibly complex music with complete comprehension of what they were doing, with confidence normally reserved for professionals. When I would ask for kids to volunteer to improvise a solo on a concert, they would literally line up. I would be like, oh no, Rob can relate to this now. He's dealing with it at Buckman. It's just the most exciting thing in the world to have kids just who can't wait to get up and perform, because they're confident, they know they can do it well. I do have to tell one other quick story that just kind of speaks to the incredible things that happen when these students learn this way. I had a jazz band, which of course was my passion, so I created an elementary jazz band. And we were going to have a performance in December. And we had one of those, you know, little cafeteria attached to the stage, you know. So they're up on the stage and we're playing and we're cranking. And everything's going great. Students coming up to play a solo. Power goes out. It's black. It is totally dark, especially on the stage. In total darkness. Now, I don't know if you've ever worked with children, what normally happens when the power right? No. These kids kept playing like nothing had ever happened. And the whole audience, you could just sense this buzz in the audience. Like people are going, whoa, this is cool. Now, we had lost power, so we didn't have our keyboard bass or our keyboard going on. But the rest of the kids kept playing, the whole band's playing. Kid finds his way somehow up to the mic that doesn't work. Plays a solo, and the whole band gets softer so you could hear him. Oh my God. Plays the solo, finishes the solo, and at the end of the solo, wham, the lights come back on, the power to the keyboards comes on, and it's instantaneous. They're right back where they were. They obviously had never stopped playing. The keyboards were playing the whole time because it was just all of a sudden, wham, and the mics were back on, so it was like, and it was amazing. Everyone in the audience was just like, wow, what did we just see, you know? These are 5th graders who were completely unfazed. It made no difference that they couldn't see their notation. That wasn't where the music was. You know, how do you get experiences like that if you don't teach this way? It doesn't happen. You know, this is just so exciting to me. So, there's no question you've changed the lives of a lot of music educators. But I don't think anyone more than Niall. And I am so honored to call you my friend. And I'm really excited about what's to come, because we all know there's no such thing as retirement in your mind and your life. And it's just going to lead to more stuff. And I can't wait to see it. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for everything you have done for me and will continue to do. Let them eat cake.